Growing up, my mom always told me if you didn't want to do the time, don't do the crime. But as I got older, I realized that you could do the time without doing the crime, microwavable culture. Since 1989, there's been 2,891 exonerations. Now, I'm not a mathematician or anything like that, but that's damn near 90 exonerations a year leading up until the year 2021, which we're in right now. For many Americans, especially Black African Americans, this is a harsh reality they face. Kevin Strickland, I want to say 62 years old right now, been incarcerated for 43 years in Missouri State Prison for a murder he didn't commit, a triple murder at that. Said he was at home watching television, but that wasn't good enough for them. They needed somebody to take the fall. So he was the fall guy, unfortunately. They coerced a witness to say that they saw Strickland doing it, and they picked him out of a lineup. They forced the woman to pick him out of a lineup. Later on, she wanted to recant her statement. She said things were cloudy when she was younger, but now she sees the light. Unfortunately, she didn't get to see enough light because she ended up passing away before she got to recant her statement. But for Kevin Strickland, he had to go ahead and sit it down for his entire life practically, right? So now Kevin Strickland gets out. Finally, you finally get exonerated after years and years and years of fighting for your innocence, not taking any plea deals because, hey, at the end of the day, man, all you have is your last name. And if you let people tarnish it, they're going to tarnish it. So, at the end of the day, man, I didn't do this. So I'm not going to take no plea deal. I ain't going to take no plea bargain. I ain't saying I did it because I didn't do it. So you got to sit it down. So my man, Kevin Strickland, he took it on the chin and he sat it down. But now he's finally out. But unfortunately, not all states require that you get compensated for you being falsely convicted. 13 states, Pennsylvania, Arizona, and Georgia, right offhand, are the only ones that I could think of right now. So if you get incarcerated, falsely convicted in those states, you don't see no paper. So they expect you, now that you've been locked up for, 40 years, 20 years, to just walk out and do what exactly? Like you stripped me of everything I've had. And for you to sit up here and put me in a state that doesn't allow compensation for the falsely convicted, there's a problem. Because all I know is jail life. That's all I know. You took my life away when I was a teenager. Now I'm a grown man, so I was forced to grow up in this penitentiary. And you took me away from civilization. So now you don't compensate me because your state doesn't allow that. So what exactly am I supposed to do? Right? So luckily for Kevin Strickland, there was a GoFundMe app in his honor that raised $1 million. But what if Kevin Strickland didn't get that $1 million? What about the GoFundMe could only bring, $5,000? They can only raise $5,000 for the man. He's supposed to live off of $5,000 after being incarcerated for 4 years? I mean, where's the justice in that? Where's the fairness in that, right? You understand what I'm saying? Like, how's a man supposed to even get his mind right coming out of jail with nothing? Then y'all say, oh man, well, we don't know what to do. We can't help you. We're sorry. No, that's not good enough, because the money that you aren't giving me now, I could have been making this money if you didn't falsely convict me. Like, who's to say how much money I would have made if I wasn't locked up? But being that you took my life away and you don't compensate me for the time that you took away, there's a problem. So happy Kevin Strickland. I'm happy it took him 43 years to get $1 million, right? Falsely convicted, you get out, you get $1 million. Like, it's a damn shame that a man has to give up his entire life for a murder he didn't commit. I guarantee he wish he would have did it, because then, okay, well, I did it. I got caught. But it's a colder world when you didn't do it and they lock you up and they treat you as an animal as if you did do it. Harsh reality. Another man, Dante Sharp, also got falsely convicted, however you want to say it, back when he was 18 years old, North Carolina. Said a 33-year-old rolled up in his neighborhood, looking for some drugs, man, looking for some weed, looking for something. But you're in a predominantly black neighborhood and you're a white guy in a predominantly black neighborhood, and if something happens to you, then they looking for anybody who looks like me. So of course, I think they coerced the 13-year-old, I think a psychiatric patient at the time as well. So she had no credibility, but they used her in order to get Dante Sharp. So Dante Sharp at the time was 19. He had to sit it down for 24 years, right? He got pardoned. No. I lied. He got exonerated, but he had to fight to get pardoned. And in a lot of these states, 13 states, mind you, you can't get compensated, but for the other states, you can get compensated. The only problem is you can't get compensated until you get that pardon from the governor. Why wouldn't you just pardon me when I get exonerated? Why do I got to search for the pardon that I should get because I was falsely convicted? Why do I got to go looking for you to get my pardon? I got exonerated. The next thing that should come down the pike is that pardon, so I can get somewhat of some type of normalcy in my life, right? I've been locked up for 20 years. That's all I know. So I'm institutionalized, right? But now I get out and I got to fight to get my pardon, because without my pardon, people looking at me as a felon, because that's what I am, because that's what I'm looked at as, even though I was falsely convicted. But there ain't nobody trying to hear that. Can't get a job, can't buff floors at your Stop and Shop, can't buff floors at your Giant Eagle because you a felon. And without that pardon, you a second-class citizen because you can't do anything. I think Wisconsin, they cap you off at $25,000, right? You get $5,000 for every year you were in jail. But if I was in jail for 25 years and I'm in Wisconsin and you give me $5,000, that's only $25,000. What about the rest of the 20 years that I spent? Where's my money? Dante Sharp got $750,000. That's the money he got. And if you ask me, he got lowballed. Because who's to say that I wouldn't have made $750,000 if I was out? You don't know how much money I would have made in those 24 years of my life, because you took my life away from me. So you can't sit up here and say, oh, no, you wouldn't have made that money, because you don't know. $750,000? Come on, man. With the cost of houses and cars going up, even in North Carolina, I want to say if you want to buy a house, I know it got to be about $200,000, man, $100,000. I mean, I guess you'd be lucky to find $50,000 houses in North Carolina. I don't know. I know that's prime real estate down there, though. I mean, it's definitely cheaper than New York, California, of course. But I mean, listen, $750,000 is not a lot of money. It's not enough money for a man that gave the state 24 years of his life. And how much did the state get off of him? I guarantee you they got more than $750,000 in that 20 years now, didn't they? You're damn right they did, right? I mean, you're a walking price tag, right? They want to take you off the streets, falsely convict you, lock you away. Then when you finally get exonerated, whenever that may be, hopefully you're still alive. Hopefully your parents are still alive. You know, your cousins, the people that you used to know, you know, the type of relationship, the bonds. Hopefully when you get done doing that stretch, hopefully everybody is still alive. You know, you pray. But what do you do? How do you stop your heart from turning cold? Is the question I ask. Because when you commit a murder, it's okay, I did it. That's why I'm sitting down. I did it. But when you don't and you get convicted, that's psychological warfare right there. It messes with you mentally. Because then you start asking yourself, damn, did I really do it? Who did I piss off for me to be in my house watching my television? For them to come knocking at my door and say, yeah, we got him. Yeah, hands behind your back. Huh? What? And especially when you're that young, you don't know your rights. Half of us don't even know what to do when the cops pull us over. So when they come knocking on your door and say, yeah, we need you. Yeah, hands behind your back. You know, you young, you 18, you 19. You're like, what's going on here? You know, it's flashing lights. Life is moving fast at this point. You know, you don't know what's going on. Next thing you know, you're in a cage for 30 years, 40 years. You went in as a kid, came out a man. I just want everybody out there to be aware of the crisis we face on a daily. You know, we're getting hunted by our own people, by the system. And you had to have your head on a swivel, because you could do everything right and still wind up on the wrong arm of the law, right? And on top of that, another woman recanted her statement. She falsely convicted a person of rape back in 1981. After 16 years, he finally got exonerated. But she wanted to write him a 400 word. I don't even think it was 400 page. 400 word letter apologizing. Girl, you lucky I ain't brandishing a gun in front of your face. Like, you know what I mean? Like you mess my life up and you write me a 400 word essay. Yeah, man, this is America. And, you know, we can't just be out here lollygagging, thinking that it can't happen to us. Because when it does happen to you, then what? You know, these are conversations that we need to have. We need to figure out how we're going to combat this. Because the DAs, the district attorneys, oh, they getting away with murder for real. Because you can falsely convict somebody without having physical evidence too. That's what they hit Cameron Strickland with. They said the case had holes in it. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but they said the case had so many holes in it that they shouldn't have ever went to trial. That's how bad it was. So you had people really coerced to try to keep this man under the system. And this is what happens. But don't think that it can't happen to you, because you be looking up one day and it happens. You're like, damn, I can't believe it happened to me. You know, we need to have more conversations like this. We need to be more aware of the things that's going on around us. Especially when you could be locked in a cage for 10, 15 years. I'm talking about it because I could believe it could happen to any of us. I don't think that I'm too good to not have something like that happen to me. I'm talking about it because it's serious. Because when you see and you read about these stories, it's people that look like me. Not saying that it doesn't happen to white people. I'd be ignorant to say that. Not saying that it doesn't. Not saying that white people don't get falsely convicted as well. But all I'm saying is, out of that 2,891 since 1989 people that are convicted, that are exonerated, out of 2,891, I would be surprised